help. Let's just get this started. I'm going to bring Alex in straight away. Here we go. Hey guys. Hey, so sorry we're late. But I'm here.
Hello.
Hi, my love.
How are you doing? Oh, look at your little face.
I'm so sorry. I have been sitting here panicking, okay? Like frantically messaging. Guys, I got locked out because obviously this isn't my page. We're doing Malika Talks with She Said So on their platform, and I got locked out, and it took us 13 minutes to find the password.
All good, we're here now.
I'm so sorry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well. I'm so good. I'm so happy to finally have you here. Bless Alex. She has been such a trooper. She's been so amazing because we were supposed to do last month, and then last month didn't happen, and then now
we got there in the end though, and that's all that matters.
It really is. But just thank you so much for bearing with me, bearing with us, and I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you, babe. I'm happy to be here.
So how I like to start is I like to let our guests introduce themselves. So everybody, this is Alex, known as Planet Alex, but you do so many things, and often when I speak to people, like, they literally do so many things. I think that, like, it's best for you to introduce you as you for all of your stuff, and then we can get to talking.
Okay, so I'm Alex. As Malika said, I work as a live music promoter at Metropolis Music. I've been involved in the industry for about 8 years now. So I started out with my own brand called Acoustic Life, and we just basically champion emerging talent in the UK and around London, Birmingham and Coventry. That's where we're predominantly based. I also have another startup company called Women Connect, and we just champion all things women, transgender, non-binary and gender fluid people in the creative industry.
Okay, so I know you mainly through Acoustic Live. And where did we meet first? Like, we've met before then, right?
I feel like it probably was Acoustic Live with one of the events in like East London, but for some reason, because I feel like I was following you online, I think I feel like I just knew you already, but we hadn't actually met yet.
That happens all the time. It literally happens all the time. Yeah. Like the other day I was actually watching something on TV, and I literally was sitting down like, who is, I know this person, I know this person. Long story short, I didn't know him. He's just the uncle from Snowfall.
That is ridiculous.
Honestly, I was so embarrassed. But okay, so you do loads of different things. I think that, like I said, I know you more for Acoustic Live when you guys had me down last year. How was it putting together that show in the middle of lockdown? So just for people watching, Alex did Acoustic Live. I was invited down to perform, so thank you so much for having me. But it was in like the day and a half window where we weren't in lockdown before they put us back in lockdown last year. So how was that, sort of putting it together?
Do you know, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, because, you know, like, there were so many regulations and a lot of stuff that we had to adhere to, but I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult than it actually was. Like, it was pretty smooth. Everybody just was rooting for us, just hoping that the gig would go well. Everybody kind of remained socially distanced. I think the only thing that we struggled to kind of control with an event like that was, you know, when there's such a vibe and everyone just wants to get up and like start dancing and mingling with people, it's just hard to be like, okay, everybody simmer down. Like, we can't be running around and like hugging and doing all kinds of stuff like that. So I think that was the hardest thing about that gig. But it was the same as planning any other gig. Like, everything was just pretty much normal, you know, like putting up the tickets was normal, booking security, liaising with the venue, all of that it was pretty smooth.
Okay, so like nothing. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't help when you have McNasty like and his band. Just, it does not help.
It doesn't help at all.
It doesn't. And he's like, "Yeah, come on, guys," and you're just like, "I want to."
Right, no,
I
Nasty,
really want to.
let's not come on. Let's actually sit down.
Let's just sit. Yeah, let's sit and be quiet. So when are you guys putting together another Acoustic Live for like June? Are you sort of in the throes of doing that, or are you going to wait for the world to actually open up and then decide?
So because of the passion, you know how it goes with Acoustic Live and myself and Q, we've actually planned our next like couple of events from July onwards.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be like, fingers crossed, we'll be able to do them, but they're all set and ready to go. So we're just waiting for, I think probably next month we'll go live with those and just let people know what's going on in our world.
Okay. So I don't know if you received any questions. Because I know that like
I did, but you know, I didn't write them down. Like, you know, the sticker thing, I put a sticker on my Instagram story, but if I screenshot it, it will, if I go to my pictures, I'll
it's
get off
fine.
live, won't I?
Just quickly jump to your pictures.
Okay, hold on.
I'm just gonna sit here and like say something. Hey guys, so Alex has just gone to get some of the questions. Hey Doretha, hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. Who else do we have here? Oh, you're back. Okay, that was quick. Oh, she's not back. Is she back?
I'm back. Sorry, I had to
she's back
quickly. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I had someone ask me, how do I navigate myself as an emerging artist in the music industry, and how do I get my foot in the door? I thought that was quite an interesting question, because it really just depends on what kind of artist you are. Like, everybody has a different lane, and there's no blueprint for getting yourself in the music industry. I'd say, I'm not sure if that person's actually in the chat right now, but I'm going to answer the question anyway.
Okay.
Make connections, just make meaningful connections, because that's something that just really helped myself, you know, not as a performer, because that's not what I do, but as somebody who's in the background and behind the scenes. I feel like the more meaningful relationships I had with actual people in the music industry, the easier it was for me to achieve my goals and ask for help where I needed it. So yeah, just try and network with people. And I know networking is such a scary word, because it's like, you know, a lot of people have anxiety and they don't feel comfortable, you know, reaching out to strangers and speaking to them. But I just say go for it. The worst they can say is no, and the worst that's going to happen is they're just not going to entertain your conversation. But that's not going to be everyone.
Do you know what I think? What took me a really long time to figure out as an artist is, or not figure out, but like to understand, is that like, just because somebody says not because they say no, just because somebody doesn't like something or says like, oh, that's not good enough, like that song's not good enough, or you know what I mean, like you don't have this or you don't have that, I allowed that to be like, oh well, they said that's not good, so let me just leave that over there. But there's a fine art to finding a way to like I suppose like bridge that. Like you need to be open to people's opinions, but also you need to not let it stifle you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, yeah, you know, taking on board constructive criticism is always good, but that person only knows about so many things. Like you should know your own path and try and carve out your own lane. That's the best thing to do.
Absolutely. And out of the 3 jobs that you listed, which one's your favorite? Or which one? I mean, let's not even put you on the spot and be like, because that's be like someone be like, what's your favorite song? And I'm like, they're all my babies. But yeah, which one would you, or which one's like really exciting you right now, I suppose, because like it ebbs and flows, doesn't it?
I'd say right now, I mean, they all kind of do. Like, it's really hard to pick between, but I feel like the one that has the most going on right now is Women Connect, and I feel like there's been a bit of a shift. The needle has definitely shifted in the last few months in regards to supporting women, transgender people, gender variant people in the creative industry. I think that's become a lot more evident in the last few months, and that's why I think things for us have become really exciting. We had an event with PRS for Music yesterday talking about all things know your rights and roles, what's copyright, what goes into a contract, managers, publishing, licensing, all of that kind of stuff that people just don't know about. And to be honest, including myself, like I work in live music, I don't work at a label, so I don't really know. A lot of the time people ask me questions to do with labels, and like I don't work there, so I can only offer like a limited little bit of advice. But yeah, Women Connect has got the most going on right now, and we're just trying to support people as much as we can.
Do you know what I find so interesting? So I have another platform that I launched called Music Industry Rules, and it's specifically for what you just spoke about, because I have so many friends. Like I've been lucky enough that I got to do this straight out of uni, so I've been doing music a very long time. But so many of my friends, like producer friends, friends who have had songs out, who are writing, like just like they will call me and ask me for my advice on stuff, and I'm like, but why do you not know this? Like, why have you been doing this 3 years and you're still not a member of PPL? Like,
Yep.
why do you not know what PPL is? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, literally,
Yeah.
one of my friends, he was an artist and then he started managing, and he like would just call me and ask me like really basic questions, and I like, and I'm not even saying that in a derogatory term. I'm saying it in a way of like, there's just, you just don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And it's really concerning that people don't know what they're entitled to, what their rights are, like what they should be doing. It's really, as a fellow artist who has been lucky enough to have worked for a long period of time and still got screwed over, please let's not get it twisted. But do you know what I mean? It's quite concerning that artists coming up, like they just don't know, and they don't even know where to find it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a real lack of education, and I guess across the whole music industry type of situation. Like even before I got into it, I didn't really know what I was getting into. So when I was, I started Acoustic Live, I just didn't really understand the ins and outs of the technical side of the music industry, and I was just more on the showbiz side, and my eyes were really open when I got my current job that I have now. Like I started as an intern, and I just learned so much, and I think a lot can come from doing things like apprenticeships and internships, because you just get to learn so much about the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting also how segregated everything is. So like you can be a manager, but then there's like different types of managers. There's producer managers, there's artist managers, there's writer managers. You've got the odd that kind of might do like producer, writer, or artist, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But essentially they're 3 separate jobs and 3 separate skill sets. There's the difference between a manager and a tour manager. Something that I learned very early on when I had management and I left them, and my tour manager was like, oh, I'll be your manager, and I was like, okay. Only to learn he knew nothing about management. Do you know what I mean? So like, great guy, we still speak, but just not like it. That taught me that, okay, these are really specific jobs, and you can actually work in a label. A friend of mine works in streaming, but he knows nothing about contracts, or it's so segregated, and I don't think people really understand that.
Yeah, not at all. Like even the difference between like the main manager and like a day-to-day manager, I mean, it's not too different, but like that's something I had to get my head around. Like if I need to contact someone for like to sign off contracts and stuff, I'll contact the main manager. But like just regular scheduling stuff, I'll contact the day-to-day manager, because they're probably the person that looks after the diary and all of that kind of stuff. Like you just have to know the ins and outs of the industry, and a lot of people don't.
They don't, and there's just like no one place that you can get all of that information. Like I think there are loads of great outlets. There are like a lot more on Instagram now, like just individual people doing their own thing, but like PPL, Musicians Union, PRS, MMF, like there are loads of really great platforms. But again, if you don't know, I'm lucky that I know about PRS because my dad worked in music. So I've been a member of PRS since I was about 13.
Started you early.
Literally. So even before I knew what it was, but without my dad, I don't know how long it would have taken me to learn about PRS, because I probably would have put out my song, and even with that education, actually, it didn't. There was still some issues and stuff. Like music is really learning on the job. And I do want to say to anybody watching, if you do have any questions for us, like please put them in the comments.
There was a couple. Should I answer?
Yes, go through. I found one.
I saw one that said, what do you think of the genre pop rap? I'm actually going to throw that to you, because I'm really interested in hearing what your thoughts are.
Pop rap. I don't know what pop rap is. Who is pop rap? Like, not an artist, but like, no, I know pop rap isn't an artist. Who is an artist that does pop rap?
Pop rap, yeah. I mean, I feel the same as you. Like, rap is a popular genre, so I'm not sure exactly what pop rap is, but I love rap and I love popular music. So thoughts on that genre is just, I think it's amazing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, same. I think that it's really, really cool that like young people, like young boys and girls from the inner city of London are getting an opportunity to perform. They're actually they're getting a platform to do the music from their culture, which in a mainstream way. And I think that that is amazing because you're getting like different types of music. Do you know what I mean? Like if you are talking about, not you but the person who asked the question, if you are talking about like just rap but commercially, you're getting people like Slow Tie, you're getting Stormzy, Dave, like, do you know what I mean? Like you're getting different colors of people, which I think is important. Also you're getting like a lot of females coming through. You've got Shabo, Ivorian Doll, La Vida Loca, sorry. Do you know what I mean? Like we're getting loads of Miss Banks. I mean, I could just go on, but we're getting people who maybe once upon a time would have just been like a niche or a smaller genre. They
Little
get in.
Sims.
Yeah, Little, exactly. Imagine if Little Sims came out now, or even like Lady Leisha. I've actually listened to Lady Leisha today, funny enough. But yeah, like imagine if she'd come out just today, like where she could have been, and she's doing great, obviously. But imagine if she had come out sort of now with the like how the doors are open. I'm sure when she first started, it was very difficult to sort of push through, but.
Absolutely, and because she's from Birmingham, she's not from the hub of where everyone thinks music is from. Like London's not the be all and end all, but I feel like with the industry, there's a lot of pressure to make you feel like you have to be in London to be a part of things. And because she's from Birmingham, she's done incredibly well. Like to see her on Dancing on Ice and starting her radio show and just all of these things, like she's absolutely smashed it.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, yeah, like loads of people are not from London. I mean, H isn't from London. JK, who I was on Flowers with Nathan, he's not from London. So there are like a lot of people that like, but I think the internet has made things smaller.
Yeah,
So,
it has.
do you know what I mean? Like you'll find someone's music and then you'll look for them on Instagram or whatever platform you use, and they'll be like, hey, look at this person not being from London.
That's so interesting because it does breed familiarity, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, there's another question here that says, what's the name of the platform that provides music advice? Oh, that I can look into. And that's from Lico C2. Hopefully he's still on this. We named some, didn't we? Like PRS, PPL. Musicians Union is probably the best place to start, or the Arts Council.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree with that. And I think also Help Musicians UK is a good one to look into music support if you want to tap into things that are a bit more mental health focused. There's newer companies like Young Music Boss and Mellow Compass that provide that kind of information as well. Like there's so many. If you want to hit either of us up, you can DM as well, and I'll send you a little list of the people I think you should go to.
Well, I was going to say, can you send that to me and I'll put it in the description of this video? I mean, also feel free to like DM us or whatever, but I like when we talk about certain things on the Malika Talks, I like to just put references in the comment in the box. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I can't. I've pressed the button and I don't know why the chat's just gone missing.
Oh, we can still see you. So just
okay.
I'm just letting you know that. Just in case. Let's see if there are any other questions. Oh, I think pop rap is a combination of singing and rapping like Drake. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Courtney.
I hear that.
Trying to see if there are any more. Okay, so back to you. So how long have you been at Live Nation?
So I've been there. What month are we in? April. So I've been there for about 2.5 years now, almost 3 years, which like has flown by because last year we weren't really doing anything. So it doesn't. I mean, I'm getting on a little bit. Like it's coming up to 3 years. I'm like, wow, I've been there for 3 years, but I feel like last year didn't count because we weren't doing anything.
It didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know you can't sort of speak too much about what you do, but I suppose maybe we could just keep it more general in terms of how do you feel like working at Live Nation has helped you with Acoustic Live?
I think it's helped me understand larger scale events and like festivals, that kind of stuff, because with Acoustic Live we've curated 2 festivals in our 8 years, and they were incredible, absolutely. But I feel like working at Live Nation, where you're dealing with like hundreds of thousands of people, has been like a completely different experience for me, because you've gone from like events that are like 500 cap to, like I said, like upwards of like 100K people, and it's just like, wow, this is actually a lot of things to be dealing with, and understanding production and what goes into like producing your own festival, like we did with the Ends Festival. There was so much like that you just don't consider. So I was in charge of the box office, but it was like quite last minute, because it's just something that just didn't cross my mind. Like obviously someone's got to operate the box office on the day, and that's just something that you have to do. So yeah, I mean, you can outsource it as well, but that's one of the things that I do. Working at Live Nation and Metropolis definitely helped me with. I know how to just operate larger scale events and festivals now a lot better than I did before.
And do you think you're going to stay in events, or are you interested in like branching out to other parts of like the music industry? Or
that's a real hard one, because I go through the motions. So I love where I work right now. I just can't see myself doing anything else. I feel really passionate about like growing artists from their inception. So we've had artists like Tiana Major 9, for example, who we've worked with since like, the beginning of her career, where there was like 100 people at her shows, and now we're upscaling and going for like 300, and then the next time we'll try and double that, and we'll just keep pushing and doing more and more and more. Artists like Koji Radical I've worked with since Acoustic Live.
he's
and then
amazing.
it's obviously done like a whole 360, and I'm now working with him on stuff at Metropolis Music and planning his shows and curating his shows. So I can't see myself doing anything aside from this. I've tried every job in the world as well, like literally I've done everything, and I've just not been, this is the job that I've applied myself to the most, and I feel the most comfortable with.
Yeah, and you feel it's rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. 100%.
So I did Acoustic Live years ago. So did you go to London Met with Q? Is that where you met at Q?
Did I meet him there?
Yeah.
No, we're siblings.
Really? I never knew that.
That's so funny. Like, people always ask me that. Oh, what, like, how long have you guys been friends? I'm like,
I would just be like, we've been friends since day. Like, I would just leave it, at that. Oh wow. Okay, because I met Q years ago when he asked me to do a show at London Met.
Yeah.
That was literally the first time I met him, and then our paths have just kind of crossed. For anybody who just joined, Q is he's Alex's sibling, but he does Acoustic Live with yourself and other bits and pieces. He's super cool, and he's very into plants.
Yeah, he's the best. Like, I've learned so much from him. Like, he is like my partner in crime. We do everything together, and as crazy as he is, like, it's been such a journey to like work on Acoustic Live with him, because we just didn't know what we were doing. We were 2 kids, London babies, just trying to make it in the music industry and find our feet. And luckily someone gave us a chance and said, okay, we've got this pop-up corrugated iron shopping mall, popping up in Shoreditch. Nothing's happened there yet. You guys, come and do your thing. And we were there for 5 years, and we just, we did a lot. We built a really dedicated community working, the Shoreditch area. So yeah, I feel like that was the start of my music industry career, and I don't think it would have gone any other way. Like, it was always going to be that way.
To be honest with you, that's how a lot of people get into the music industry or creative industries. Like, something will just happen. You'll be somewhere and somebody will say, hey, like, are you a model? Or, oh, can you come and be in this video? And then you'll go to the video, and then you might be singing in the toilet, and like somebody will hear you. Like, even me, like I said, my dad worked in music, but I went to London Met as well. And I was leaving the university and I was just singing, keeping myself company, and this guy behind me was like, oh, you sing? And then from that I was like, yeah. And then he was like, oh, I do this, that, and other. Anyway, long story short, he introduced me to the people that I did Go with. Go blew up, and to this day, like, even I was on Flowers with Nathan Dorr, and even that came from Nathan's love of Go. Like, it's so funny how like the universe works, like, and none of that was planned. And of course I wanted to always work and be in music, but a lot of opportunities for anybody watching, they do come from literally just like, you know, you saying somebody giving you lot an opportunity, somebody giving me an opportunity, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. I mean, sometimes you just got to throw yourself into things. Like, I spent a lot of time in like a lot of venues in East London, just trying to kind of find my feet, and many different managers, different agents and bands and artists, just because that's what I love and that's what I'm passionate about. And I think it really paid off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, what you said in terms of interning, that's important. Learning your craft is important. What kind of would you say as maybe like your most valuable lessons, or most like your biggest learning curves that you've been through, like on with any of the jobs that you do?
I'm naturally a very organized person, and I feel like that's something that you just have to be when you're curating events and lineups and looking after artists and doing all of that kind of stuff, because a lot of things can fall through the cracks. And I think the one time I was like super relaxed, like, oh, you know, it will work out, everything's gonna be fine, kind of leaning on other people to like do the jobs, it just didn't. It was an absolute nightmare. So that's definitely something I'll never forget. Like, if I want a job done, do it yourself. If you want it done properly, do it yourself and it will be fine.
All the time, literally all the time. It's like, it's the most stressful thing. But again, I think it's about finding balance, because I will sit here and be like, oh my days, I have to do everything myself, I don't know anybody. And then like I'll go in my phone and I could like, I got like loads of producers in there, like I've got stylists, like, I don't know, do you know what I mean, like DJs that I can send my music to, where I mean, sometimes people don't respond because they're busy, or their numbers or emails change or contact details change, whatever. But essentially, like, asking for help.
Oh, 100%.
You have to be able to, it's a balancing act of like, if you want something done, do it yourself. But then also you have to know how and when to ask for help.
Yeah, you've got to know where your strengths are as well. Like, if you want to, you know, be styled for a shoot, if you're not good at styling, then don't do that yourself. But like, always outsource, and always ask for help, you know, because the worst someone is going to say is no, and there's always going to be someone else that can help you. But I think communication is really key. Like, if you can't do something yourself, always reach out to people, because, you know, no man's an island, and we are here to help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the most important thing. And also, so many people are reachable. Like 5 years ago, okay, maybe 5 years, let's say 7, but 7 years ago, you couldn't just DM Drake and he possibly will see it and possibly respond. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can actually hit up the most successful people in the world, and they may not see it, but they may. But you could also find somebody in someone said I did that when I started For Real. Official Natalie. You DM Drake? Natalie, did you DM Drake? Can you respond?
Do you know, it's really winding me up that I can't see the chat. Why can't I see it?
No. Oh yeah, Natalie, official Natalie C said, did that when I started For Real. And I love that. I love that. You DM again. What do you oh, she said I wish. Oh no, please don't get me excited. Wait, somebody else has asked a question. Sam _M_I_am. When organizing an event, Alex, what organization tools do you use? What skills, education do you think you must have to succeed within the business? Okay, this is a good question. Thank you so much, Sam.
In terms of skills, that's just, I mean, if you're organized, you're organized, and that's just a skill that you have. But if you want to become more organized, which is something that I've definitely delved into as I've grown older and my career has progressed with the last few years, I use Excel religiously. Like, every single thing I do, like all the artists that I have on my roster, I put it into Excel, so I just don't forget about anything. Because before, I'd write a little note to myself in my emails and write like a little draft, and that just wasn't sufficient enough. Like, with Excel, you can just do so much, especially with like programming your cells, sending it to other people so they can input data into it as well, like formulating the cells as well, which is really helpful for myself, like especially when I'm doing like costings for different events. So I have like a costing sheet where I'll put in like the venue hire, the ticket price, the number of people that come into the show, and it will just like tally up everything for me, and it's really made my life so much easier. So I'd say tapping into stuff like Excel, and everything is on YouTube these days. If you don't know how to do stuff like that, you can always find it on YouTube. Just go into YouTube, type it in, and you'll find literally a 2-3 minute video on how to do this kind of stuff.
YouTube is phenomenal. It's
been so helpful. Like that's my biggest tool. Like I literally Google and YouTube everything. If I don't know how to do it, I just search on there.
Yeah, and like there are so many like literally absolutely anything you could want to know about anything, it's just there. And I think it's amazing, and it's a blessing. Do you know what I mean? It can also be a bit overwhelming, because you then like you don't know which one, and you might sit there for 15 minutes watching a video and they give you nothing at the end.
Yeah, but that's where just like asking for help always comes into it. Like if you ask someone like myself, I'll just send you the videos that I've watched. Like if you're like, oh, you know, how do I create this? If I know how to do it, I'll send it your way. Like I'm not going to hoard the information. And there's so many people like me. Like most of the people are friendly and accessible and will help you out. There's only, you know, a few people that might just be too busy to help, but there's always going to be someone that will be able to.
And also, I think it's important not to take it personally. Like if you message somebody, no, it's so important. It is because genuinely, it's like a motto that I'm living by, right? Because you just don't know what people are going through. So, for example, even when you're driving, right? Did you drive?
No.
Oh. When I'm driving,
I drive, but I don't have a car. So
oh, okay, fine. So you can drive. Okay, that's fine.
Oh yeah, cool. I can drive.
Yeah. So when you're driving, and I spend a lot of time in the car. I spend a lot of time driving. So my analogies are always to do with driving. So when you're driving and somebody speeds past you, or they cut in front of you, or whatever, right? Sometimes it can be really inconvenient. It can be dangerous. It could be whatever. But instead of like cussing the person back, or like trying to speed up next to them to cuss them for cutting you back 5 minutes ago, it's like you genuinely never know what someone's going through. That person could have just found out their mum died, their child is in hospital. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think that
you never know.
You genuinely don't. And those things are obviously very, very serious. But even in regards to music or creative stuff, like you are going to have to email people, and you have to find, again, a fine line between being annoying and being persistent. If you're persistent, people will come back to you, and sometimes they still won't. But like I would always say, even when people come back to you with a no, always go back to them and still thank them for their time. I think that that's very important, because if something happens, if maybe in a couple of years time you end up in the same job as them, or the same vicinity or whatever, they may just remember you and your rude email, or the fact that they came back to you with some advice, but it wasn't exactly what it is that you wanted to hear, and you just didn't respond. So I think, me personally, I try and make an effort to go back to people and be like, oh, thank you for that, no worries, like no worries that you couldn't help me.
That's really golden information, because it's all about etiquette, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, even if someone can't help you, there's no need to be rude to them. And if they don't respond, like there is persistence, but then there's just harassing people. There's a reason why they're not responding. They might not have seen it. They might have too many messages in their inbox. They also might have an assistant who manages their inbox who doesn't get back to people. Like I had an instance where I had someone managing my inbox, and I wasn't actually directly getting messages myself.
Right.
And I just found that like really interesting, how people would like, oh, you know, Alex has aired this email. It's like, I didn't air it, I just didn't see it.
Exactly. And I think that, like, you know, people, when you're not working in these sort of industries, creative, film, TV, music, so on and so forth, you just don't think, like, you so believe in your product and what it is that you're doing, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, whatever, you so believe in that, but you forget that the person on the other side, or sometimes people can figure out the person on the other side is a human being, or and has their own sort of friends and families that are pulling on them for a little extra favor.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean? It's like, I only have 5 favors. I have to give one to my mum because she gave me life. Like, I have to give one to my brother because I work with him. Like, do you know what I mean? I've got 3 left. That's my best friend. And then maybe I can give you 1. And then they come up and like, oh, but can I get a +1? It's like, no, I don't even have a +1. I'm sure you get that all the time.
That's actually a really good way to manage yourself. Like, I never even really thought about that. Like, I just try and just do as many favors as I can, but sometimes you spread yourself too thin. But to answer your question, I get the +1 thing all the time. The guest list, guys, I'm just gonna say it for the people in the chat, like, it's not free. Like, the promoter has to pay for the people on the guest list.
Yeah.
So when you're asking for a +1, +2, +4, I'm the person who's paying for you guys to come to the show. So just bear that in mind, like, when you're asking for people, you know, for guest list.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I mean, some friends of mine used to put on events quite a bit. And I was very lucky that they literally would just be like, how many tickets do you want? You want 10, 15? Like, just tell me how many people. And I would literally have like an overflow of tickets that I would, most of the time, like, I'd find out so last minute as well that the tickets sort of went to waste. But people, they sometimes don't understand that, like, there's you're one person, and you might know 100 people, but then there's also the person who's putting on the event, their family, their friends, the other person that's working, the 49 other people in the office. Like,
yeah,
you know, it does turn into something.
It's hard. It's really hard. Like, you try to accommodate everyone, but some people just don't understand, like, when it's just too full, like, you know, the capacity's literally reached capacity.
Yeah.
Can't squeeze you in because there's going to be nowhere for you to stand or sit, or,
like,
you know.
Gonna adding you was going to shut down the whole event.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, I really struggle with as an artist, like, telling people things in terms of, like, when I'm doing stuff, I will just forget because I'm just on autopilot, or it's taken such a long time for me to even put the stuff together. Do you know what I mean? Like, organizing the band, sorting out what I'm going to wear. Like, do you know what I mean? By the time it's the day, I look around and I'm like, oh, flip, I got guest list, and I'm calling around trying to find people. Like, do you find that often happens with artists that you work with?
Not so much now. Like, maybe when I, like, a few years ago when I was starting out, I found it really hard to just stay on top of the stuff that they should be on top of, because you forget that an artist has to think about their set. So you just think that they will automatically remember that they've got a guest list and all these other things. But a lot of the time they forget because they're rehearsing and they're trying to perfect their set and, you know, all of the important things about the show. So then it comes to, like, the day and you're like, okay, send over your guest list. And they're like,
I haven't told no one.
Completely forgot. But I think these days I just try to do the guest list for them. So I'll just let them know, you know, you have 10, 20 people, whatever it is. And if I know somebody in their camp, I'll just let them know, okay, I've already added you to the guest list. So you don't need to bother the artist with, like, asking. And if I know someone in their team, I'll just kind of reach out to, like, their manager or their agent and be like, could you sort their parents or their siblings or whoever it is that they want to bring out, just so it takes the added pressure off the artist because they have a lot to think about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I get in trouble all the time from, like, my friends and family and stuff. Like, I never tell them anything. Like, my mum will literally be like, oh, your sister told me that you put some music out the other day, and I'm like, I don't even, yes, I'm sorry. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm really bad.
It's a lot though. Like, how do you remember everything? It's impossible.
It is, but I think that when people see music and creative stuff and live, they just see the final product. So, like, for example, I'm working on some new music at the moment, and I went back to the producer to get the musical parts, and he couldn't find them. He literally could find everything else but not the musical parts. And nobody's ever going to know. Well, I mean, they're going to know now because I'm saying on the live, but it's literally taken us a week to find these musical parts. But
where did they go?
Honestly, I have no idea, because he doesn't delete anything, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't delete anything. I mean, there's another producer that I'm in with next week, and he has a newer session. So there's like a first session, a second session, and then the one we did like 2 weeks ago. He's got like the second session, and no, he's got the first session, sorry, and can't find the second session. That for me more blows my mind, because it's like, how do you have the first one and the third one, but you just don't have the second, the one that we need?
That's so strange. I just feel like that's a glitch in the matrix though. Like, that's just nobody's fault. Like, it's just gone missing and that's it.
But there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going in next week. I'm going to do my vocals, hopefully work on something else. But people sort of who don't work in those creative industries, they don't understand literally how much goes into doing a song and like putting a song out. Do you know what I mean? For us to hear that 3.5 minutes, it literally sometimes takes years for songs to come out. We do have a couple more questions. We have another one from Sam for you, which says, great answers. Okay, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you. In organizing an event, this is a good question. Have you ever gone over budget? And if so, how did you negotiate with sponsors, vendors, and partners to make more room in the budget? Let me know if you need me to repeat any of that.
Have I ever gone over budget? I mean, I think countless times, but we've just always managed to accommodate through just like, you know, our own pockets, where we just mind doing stuff like that, or maybe just negotiating with the venue and saying, okay, we brought this, you know, X amount of people into the venue, would you be able to like substitute 100 quid, 200 quid to like donate towards like the artist travel or whatever it is. But I haven't, to be honest, I don't really go over budget like that. That's probably only happened like once in like my 8-year career in music. It's just something I can't bring myself to do. That's just not even, that blows my mind. It actually upsets me. I'm going to be thinking about that all night.
Okay, so basically, Sam, just don't go over budget.
Just don't do it.
Just don't do it. Okay,
if something's going to cost you money, then by all means, like, spend what you need to spend, but also put your foot down. Like, if someone is taking the piss, then, you know, you've got to let them know, like, hey, we can't afford this. This is our absolute max. Like, put your foot down because you are the organizer. Oh, my earring.
That's okay. Do you ever find, even in like when you start sorting out or negotiating what a live performance is going to be, do you sort of say the max budget is 10,000, but you know you've got 12, or even 800 when you know you've got £1,000, or do you know what I mean? Like, do you sort of lowball, like, to allow for like that room for wiggle?
So it's different depending on like what I'm organizing the event for. So when we've done like the corporate stuff with Acoustic Live, they'll give us the budget and say, okay, we've got £500 and we want X this and X that. So then I'll book the artist based on how much money that the sponsor, so to speak, is giving us. At Metropolis and Live Nation, it works a little bit different, where I will cost up everything very vigorously. So I will know everything down to the exact penny, so there's no kind of like going over. I'll give the artist their fee for the show prior to the show, and everything that we'll make back via tickets belongs to us. So There's no kind of like mix up there.
Okay. And in terms of where you work, like, where do you work in terms of like the artist agent stuff that you do you work just like not even just in urban, but where do you work? Do you work across different genres of music, or are you just like one genre based?
I'd say I'm probably, my roster is quite broad. So I've got a lot of people. I've got some punk acts. I do a lot of indie stuff. I've got a couple of rappers here and there. So my roster is actually quite broad. But some other promoters like to just stick to their genre because that's where they feel most comfortable. But I say most of the promoters I do work with have quite a broad roster, because I feel like when you like music, you like so much and so many different things. Like, my favorite band is like Queen, and my favorite song is, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody. So it wouldn't make sense to like box myself into the kind of like urban category when that's not really my thing.
I do think, like, sometimes as a Black person, you can be kind of just boxed in to like, oh, you're Black, so you must do da 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 da. How have you sort of found that in, like, not any specific job, but how have you sort of found any kind of stereotypes in terms of what your tastes are or what your abilities are? How have you found that within working in live and creative jobs?
I think, I mean, I get what you're saying, because a lot of people will just assume, you know, like when you're Black, they'll just assume like what kind of genres you look after. But I guess just letting them know from the jump, okay, this is who's on my roster and this is who I'm promoting tonight, and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I've got this act, this indie act, that punk act, or whatever it is. And just being forthcoming about what is actually on your roster, rather than trying to kind of keep it to yourself, or because you end up being pigeonholed that way. Yeah. And I just try to make connections with the people who I know are doing stuff within that genre. So like, I love indie music, so that's where I kind of like thrive. So I'll be immersed in like all of that kind of stuff, and that's what I grow the most. I'm trying to just establish my reputation within that, because I know sometimes it can look a bit, oh, like, why is, you know, Alex here kind of thing. I thought she'd maybe just do like rap or like R&B and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's really interesting to like hear what people might think that you're into.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like and like if I say anything that you like don't want to answer or feel uncomfortable with, like maybe just you know how they were saying Derek Jackson's wife should blink if they were hot, like just blink.
Not Derek Jackson.
Do you feel like coming into that you feel like you sometimes you have to explain yourself, like just because the perception is already there? So from my experience personally, there are sometimes sessions that I go into and they might sort of be like, hey, like spud, or like what, and I was just like, that's not the energy that I'm giving off. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, if I didn't look like me, would, like, if I don't know, somebody white walked in, would you greet them with the same energy? Because if that's you, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? And then I do find myself having to sort of overcompensate and over explain. So then I will kind of do a thing of, oh, like, I come from like a mixed race family and I'm not like to sort of level the playing field to, and it's more to maybe to make myself feel comfortable. And these are kind of chats that I've had with previous guests, but again, like, everybody's comfortability level is different, but I just thought I would extend, because we do talk about these kinds of things on Malika Talks, and I think it's very important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like in the past I would kind of be a little bit scared to say I'm not into this like rap acts, because that's just not what I'm interested in. As much as I love that genre and like hip hop and all of those, you know, grime, drill, whatever it is, but you have to be honest about what you want to promote and what you want to work on. Like I said, my roster is really broad, so I definitely try and tap into like a lot of genres. But I think I've just been completely honest. Like, when people try to pigeonhole me or only offer me a certain type of act, I just come forward and say, oh, but I know you have this person, you look after that person, so I'd really like to work on a show for them as well, because these, and I'll list like the other acts that I'm into and that I've worked on their live stuff. And I feel like that open dialogue has really helped with just progressing within different genres that wouldn't be typically like black or urban, whatever it is. Because I mean, it's like with Afrobeats artists, not every African artist actually makes Afrobeat. So, you know, you have to be really careful and like tread carefully in how you word these things. But I feel like just having an open dialogue is really important, because a lot of the time people just don't know. They just assume, but they don't mean to cause offense. As offensive as it is, they don't mean to. So you just have to have an open dialogue.
And I think also, even in terms of it being sensitive, I think there's a way to ask these questions and to, do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with, say for instance, if you or I was wearing something with an African print, it's no different to me saying to you now, like, oh my days, where did you get those earrings? Versus like, do you know what I mean? Like, versus if your earrings had an African print and somebody was like, oh my days, where'd you get? It's the same question.
It's the same thing,
like, you're not going to be offended. You're just going to be like, oh, this is where I got them from here and they were this much, or, you know, or where's that pattern from? Oh, it's a cultural thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are ways to sort of have these conversations. And I think that maybe sometimes some people can get offended, and sometimes you can personally, like, I've been offended by some things that people have said in the way they've said it. Everybody's human, but sometimes you're just having a bad day. It's actually not about
totally, because a lot of the time it's just not even that, but you just have to, it depends on what day you catch the person on as well. Like, you've got to mind what you say and mind the tone that you're asking it in, and also recognize when you're being ignorant, because you might think you're asking a question that's completely normal, but it's not. And if someone tells you that it's not, then try and take on their, you know, their advice. But, you know, like I said, like, everybody from so many walks of life.
Absolutely.
So you just have to consider that as well, because something that might be offensive to you wouldn't be offensive to someone else.
Exactly. What would you say is the most offensive comment that somebody's asked you in terms of like your colorism or even being female? No, because I'm going to give you mine. So
okay, so I'm not going to say where this happened, but this wasn't recently, so just disclaimer, this didn't happen at my current workplace and has nothing to do with my current workplace, just to throw that one out there.
Absolutely fine. Perfect.
So I was working somewhere, and my boss at the time came up to me. So usually, I mean, back in the day, I'd always have my hair in like braids or like slick back, like kind of how I have it today. But my natural hair is obviously an afro. It sits as an afro. It's quite a big afro. So one day I wore my natural hair out to work, and my boss was like, "Oh, you've got your bird's nest out today."
Oh no.
Malika, I actually screamed. I screamed on the spot. I couldn't believe it. My what? Like, who are you talking to?
Oh no.
Is it me?
No.
But that's the day I knew I needed to leave. Like, my other colleague, who was, well, she happened to be white, she was like, no. Like, she just said to my boss on this, because she could see how shocked I was that he said this. And she said to my boss, like, that's not okay. Like, you just don't say things like that. And then I had to really, like, go in on him and have a proper sit down. Like, do you realize what you said is completely outrageous? My bird's nest, like, my natural hair that grows out of my head.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it would be offensive. It would be offensive if I, as a black female, said that to you.
Yeah.
It would be. It's an offensive.
It's offensive.
Statement.
Like, period.
Okay.
Anyone saying that is just offensive. That's ridiculous. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I think that might be worse than mine.
Oh God, what's yours?
So mine, should I say who the girl was who said it? Should I say her name?
No names.
Okay. I mean,
just in case anyone knows her.
I mean, they probably don't, but if they do, then she shouldn't have said it.
Boy.
But this wasn't a work thing, although I probably would just say if it was. This was back in school. And I really want to say her name, but anyway. But yeah, she was actually a friend in school. I went to secondary school in Buckinghamshire, so like a very white area. And she asked me what colour my blood was. But I think yours is worse. I think yours is worse.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy though. That's really like something I've never heard. Like, wow.
Yeah,
like you have to be silly. Like she knew. I feel like that was vindictive, because like,
I don't know, like, it wasn't even, I can't remember the exact conversation, but I remember exactly where we were walking down the steps, like the drama studio was right there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember the moment. She was just like, oh, what colour's your blood? And I was like, it's the same as yours. It's red.
How old are you guys?
We were probably around like 13.
No, she knew. I thought you was gonna say like, oh, maybe we were like, 6 or 7. She knew.
I mean, but to be fair, she had never been on a train into London by herself at this age.
Come on.
So
that's ridiculous.
But I think, but see, because I like my mum's mixed race, so like I got one white nan who's a nightmare, who I love, but she's a nightmare, and I have a black gran who's also a nightmare, rest her soul. But I really. And I was having a conversation today with a producer that I was working with, a white producer that I was working with, a guy called Ian Dench, great producer. Yeah. I see colour differently because I've grown up in that. Like, it's really weird. Like, I think like now if somebody asked me what colour my blood was, I would be quite offended. But at that time, the place where I was, maybe because I was a teenager, maybe because whatever, do you know what I mean? Maybe because of my background, but I just really, I wasn't offended. I just corrected her and kept it moving. And you know what? Maybe it's a good thing that I just corrected her and kept it moving, and it wasn't like a bigger deal than it.
Yeah. I can resonate with that, because like as a child, sometimes you look back and you're like, at the time it wasn't like a shocking statement to you, just a question. No.
Yeah.
As you grow older and you grow wiser, you realize, oh, no, that wasn't okay. Like when I was younger, I remember it was sports day at school. Like I was really young, maybe like 6 or something like that. And like, your parents come to sports day, all the parents come to sports day, whatever. And I remember one of my like friends' parents said to my dad, oh, your one must be really fast.
No.
Sir?
No, sir.
Malika, but the thing is, I didn't even, obviously I was 6, so I was just like, okay, but my dad was offended. Like, I just didn't understand why, and it's only as I've got older, okay, yeah, not all black people are athletes and really fast and all, all that kind of stuff, but as a child, you just don't know those kind of things. So I get it.
You don't. You really don't. And you know, I suppose if like I don't have any kids, but like if my child did come home and how was your day? Oh, somebody asked me what color I would say, hey, where's my shoes? Where are we going? Where does she
Send
live?
me the address right now.
We're going. Okay, we do have a couple more questions just before, because I know you have to go soon. I'm so sorry for
No, all good, all good.
the
I've got
lateness.
5.
Okay, so the next question is, okay, so it's me. It's like, may you please mention the structures that enable, this is from Lico C2 underscore C2. May you please mention the structures that enable you to function as an artist, basically the people you need in order to continue doing music. Oh, that list is it's very long and very short, depending where you are, depending what it is that you want to achieve. I think that I don't even know where to start with this question. I think you definitely need at least one person that you can bounce ideas off of. I would say a manager, and a lot of people's managers nowadays are their friends, and I think that that's like, to have it has to be somebody that understands you and understands your vision, and then you build out from there, because you can try and work with like loads of different people, but if somebody doesn't understand your vision, you need somebody that you can always come back to, I think, and that can ground you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that can like literally be like, oh, I've sent my demo out to 15 people and they've all said no, and you need that one person to be like, no, you're really great, you can do this, we can do this together, let me send it out to the next 15 people to, because the amount of rejection that you do experience on a day-to-day level is it's a lot. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes you need somebody else to take that pressure off you, just to give your soul and your spirit a rest.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
From the rejection. So I would say you definitely need a manager, and I think from there you just build out. It's all an experience, it's all trial and error. You'll work with some producers. I've worked with producers closely for like years, and then something happens, not even a fallout, just life happens, and then you no longer work. Like Ian Dent, who I was with today, who he actually wrote like Beautiful Life for Beyonce. He wrote Disappear. Like, he's a really big writer, but he's the nicest guy. He's so, I love Ian. He's so amazing. But like, even that, do you know what I mean? I haven't seen him for like 2.5 years, but we connected so well that when we sat down again today, it was like no time had passed and there was no issue. Do you know what I mean? So I think that definitely have somebody that you can like go to. Sorry, I was talking for a long time. What about you, Alex? What do you think?
No, I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. If you don't feel like you're in the position to have a manager, I definitely think having an assistant or someone who can assume the role of reaching out to people and kind of managing your diary and looking after the kind of admin side of things is really important, especially if you're not an organized person. And as an artist, you need to focus on the art as well. Like, it's really hard to just like be doing the marketing and looking after your diary and all of that kind of stuff as well that comes with being an artist. Sometimes, okay, focus on studio, writing your songs and doing the art side of things, and having someone who's either a manager or an assistant to help you out with everything else. But also remember that your manager isn't a booking agent. So when you're looking for gigs and stuff, where your manager can help with stuff like that, that's also not really their role. So don't expect too much from a manager when it comes to bookings and stuff like that. If you want something like that, you have to look into finding a promoter or a booking agent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is very important to like know that the skills are like, so to be a manager, you have to be able to do everything, but still outsource that as well. And even having an assistant, you know, you have to and also like you have to know what it is that you're trying to do and trying to achieve, the artist that you're trying to be, the music that you're trying to make. You have to know that, right? But it absolutely takes time, and there's nothing wrong with the time that it takes. It's taken me, I mean, I've always known the artist that I want to be, but in terms of having the confidence to say, this is what I'm doing, it's taken me till this point. And I've been in music for like 13 years. like on and off, I've said I want to do X, I want to do Y, this is the type of music that I want to do, and something has come along or somebody's come along and been like, yeah, but let's just try this or do that. And also sometimes like the circumstance as well of the industry as well, like now, like we were saying, in terms of like more sort of urban London or urban artists, in terms of like inner city artists, they're now being more accepted in the mainstream. Like 20 years ago when So Solid were doing it, they were an anomaly. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, like, it's easier. You have Spotify. I could record something today and put it on Spotify tomorrow.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that when I started doing music.
Yeah.
Natalie, who DMs Drake, she's asked us a question. She said, I hear getting scouted by a manager is better than finding a manager yourself. Is that true? Okay, I have my own opinion, but what's your opinion?
I'm really quite indifferent. Like because I don't manage artists and I've never been managed by anyone, I wouldn't really know what to advise on like the best course of action is to take. But I know a lot of my people, you know, the artists that I work with have been found by their managers, but I know quite a few people that were seeking managers and have sort of really good managers. So I think it depends on like what works for you. But what I'm interested to hear what you think, Malika.
So yeah, I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. You can have people seek you out. You can have people seek you out that aren't the best for what it is that you're trying to do. I think that it's a double-edged sword. Really good managers, they're busy because they're good managers and they're learning on the job. But you can find somebody that's like really enthusiastic about your music, about what you're doing, about your artistry, and that enthusiasm goes just as far as somebody who is successful and more established. So I think that, you know, definitely always put yourself out there. Always put yourself out there. So if you're looking for a manager, absolutely put yourself out there. There's nothing wrong with that. But oh, she's saying, I think she disagrees. I would say absolutely put yourself out there to look for a manager. But if somebody does approach you, you have to know what it is that you want from them. Because you could find a manager who, for example, let's just take Matthew Knowles, Destiny's Child versus Solange, or Destiny's Child versus Trinity 59. Matthew Knowles was arguably the biggest manager in the world at that time. He signed Trinity 59, and though they had some success, and they were slightly different, obviously, because they were a gospel group, but they were nowhere near as big as Destiny's Child. You could look at Kelly and Beyonce, both equally as talented, started from exactly the same place, but for whatever reason, and there's many things that go behind it, right? But Matthew was managing both of them, and Beyonce's managed to raise herself to being Beyonce.
Yeah, being a global superstar.
Exactly. And Kelly, as talented as she is, and I'm sure she's not doing bad at all, but she's not like on par as Beyonce. Do you know what I mean? And that's absolutely no disrespect to Kelly Rowland, because she is amazing, but you kind of understand what it is that I'm trying to say. But then again, even like if you use Solange as well, it took Solange really taking time away to find herself as an artist, to come back and give us her authentic self, to have confidence enough to give us her authentic self, because whenever what she was doing at the beginning, it didn't work for her. And it wasn't until like A Seat at the Table where I felt like you could feel the music.
A Seat at the Table was like a life-changing point to me.
Phenomenal.
Because I really just felt like, I know there's so much music out, there's literally millions of songs, but I had never heard a body of work like that.
It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I really truly like believe that she just went, sat in a room, locked the door, and just sang what she wanted to sing, wrote about what she wanted. Like, that was exactly what she wanted to do. And I think like Cranes in the Sky is a great example of that, because the song is great, but it doesn't have a big pop hook, a big pop chorus. And I feel like if maybe Beyonce was singing it, she would do like a big pop chorus, because she's a pop mainstream artist. Solange
Yeah.
said, I'm gonna write what I want to write, and if the chorus doesn't bang, I'm just gonna do feels like crazy in the sky, and like just leave it at that. We don't need no harmony.
And look at how far that song went. Like, I still hear that today when I'm just out and about. Like, that song is gonna go down in history.
The whole
and I'm so happy. I'm
is,
glad that she was able to be her authentic self.
absolutely, but I feel like she was only able to do that in this time now.
Yeah,
where
100%.
you can be. If she put out a seat at the table 10 years ago, it just nobody would have heard it. It doesn't matter who put it out, because there wasn't the hub that you could just, do you know what I mean? Like, you could just go and it's such a great, I feel like Solange Knowles is a Black power symbol. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's a Black power culture. So like everything about her just screams Black excellence, Black power, and just beat into your own drum. So yeah, I mean, why every talk does it just go on to Beyonce and Destiny? Like, there's like Matthew knows, like, there's such a blueprint. There's such a blueprint. I mean, I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to talk about or ask or like tell anybody.
Oh, actually, there is. I have an event coming up next week. It's with PRS for Music, collaboration with Women Connect. It's just basically, we're going to be speaking about how to release your music and all of the kind of the technical side that goes into releasing your music, because anyone can fling a song on Spotify, but there's, you know, things like clearing your samples and stuff like that we're just going to demystify pretty much. So if you go to Women Connect UK, on Instagram and hit the link in the bio, you'll find free tickets to that. Anyone can come. It's going to be recorded, so if you can't make it, we'll send it to everyone who can't make it afterwards. But yeah, we're doing that. We're demystifying how to release your music. So if you're interested, just grab a ticket.
That would be absolutely amazing. Can you, I mean, I'm going to go and follow Women Connect now anyway, but can you like DM me like the information and stuff? I'll put it in the subject box of the chat, because I think I think that's going to be really amazing to do. Yay. Like to watch. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for bearing with me, the tardy upon tardiness.
No, thank you for having me. And it was an insightful chat, because, you know, sometimes like I feel like I've still got a lot to learn, and I feel like I saw a lot from your perspective today, and yeah, I've definitely learned. So I always enjoy doing this stuff.
Oh, that's so amazing. No, and absolutely, like, and I think that everything that you're doing is great, and I really do love the fact that you are not like as great as like grime and R&B and all of that stuff is. Like, I'm glad that you are yourself an anomaly. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can still be pro-Black and like love, like, I don't know, indie
everything
and love everything. Exactly. So I really love that, and I think it's important for people to just stand for like what it is that they truly believe in and what it is that they love. So yes, say your Instagram. I think earlier on I put it as like Planet Alex _, but that's your Twitter, right?
That is my Twitter. My Instagram is Planet Alex, and my Twitter is Planet Alex _.
Okay, I'm gonna put all of this stuff in the I don't know why, I'm tired. Today's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
It's been an absolutely long day. But thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, we'll I'm actually gonna message you because we need to chat. But thank you. Oh, thank you for typing. My fingers are so old and so slow. But yeah, thank you so much, love. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you soon.
Bye guys. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, so that was Malika Talks with Alex, Planet Alex, at Planet Alex, at Planet Alex _ for Twitter. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it insightful. And yeah, I will see you guys next month with a brand new special guest. Thank you. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your week. It's Thursday. The end of the week's tomorrow. Bye.